Tom, the question comes for you. What can you tell us about the recent drilling at Eskay? The results of hole 12 and the more recent holes 16 and 17 are eagerly awaited by the market. Is drilling underway now, and where will you be drilling going forward? Yes.
Yeah, just briefly, I would like Quentin to actually talk more on the detail, but just briefly, we're back drilling as of last night, and we're on back on the top of the Santa Barbara breccia pipe, newly discovered breccia pipe. Results will be forthcoming soon, but I'd like Quentin to talk about it a bit.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, Quentin.
Thanks, Tom. Look, I advise the company, I get routine updates, so I kind of have a picture of where they're at, what they're doing. Look, Osvaldo, absolute genius. He's the one that acquired the property. Look, what is the target here? We're looking for the next Potosi, which is basically, the analog, which is due north of us. Very large silver camp, probably the largest single silver camp on Earth. San Cristobal, which is an active mine, is to the west of us. Those are the types of deposits we're looking for. A very large bulk tonnage target that's going to have silver, but other metals. It could have, obviously, lead, zinc is a big component. Maybe gold, maybe copper, maybe tin. Other weird metals like indium are in these systems. Okay, the drilling that's been done to date tested an initial small pipe at the north end of the Caldera complex, but we quickly realized around October that the Santa Barbara pipe, which is to the southwest of that, seemed to be a bigger loci or focus for mineralization. We turned the drills around. We started drilling, as Tom said, we were drilling from underground. So this is an unusual prospect in that we went into some of these mom and pop adits and actually set up the drills from there, because the topography is very steep. To get up on top of the mountain was a challenge. So we basically put the rig inside the mountain and drilled southwestward into the Santa Barbara pipe. The company put some photographs of the core. I think you find them in their presentation. Absolutely amazing stuff. Okay, diatreme breccia. The pipe's at least 400 meters around. There's another one further south from that appears to be almost contiguous with it. It's turning into a very large-scale target, and the last holes that were drilled, hit this style of mineralization that's shown in the core photographs. Assays will come over the next few weeks. This goes for all of the holes that were drilled all the way up to the Christmas break. How they come exactly, don't know, but probably over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. There might be one tranche of assays and then a second tranche. Just for people's edification, like the holes that were drilled from underground there into the Santa Barbara pipe, definitely worth paying attention to. But then the company cut the road clear up to the top of the mountain. As Tom just said, we're now drilling on top of the mountain. Okay, so the holes that are being drilled now are basically drilling straight down, or not straight down, but very steeply down into this pipe. Wow, this target is huge. Okay, these are the holes that we're going to be drilling now that the rig started up over the next few months. These are the holes to really watch for, because if those holes that we drilled late last year are any indication, and look, we're all very optimistic, I think we're into an absolutely immense system, polymetallic silver system here.
All right. And Quentin or Tom, I think, Tom, you're muted right now, but this is another kind of geological question. Someone's just asking, what is the significance of these breccia pipes? Maybe you opine on that.
Sure. Look, the way these form, so you have a magma body that's trying to get its way up the surface. And as it gets close, the amount of pressure that holds the magma in place decreases, so there's not as thick of a cap. Mm-hmm. So what happens is the gases and fluids and stuff, including the fluids that bring metal, start venting. They come up to surface. So you get basically eruptive breccias, vents breccias, and then the fluids they go shooting up these breccia pipes, and those fluids, they can carry a whole host of metal, and the metals are deposited as sulfides in the matrix, the stuff in between the glass and the breccia. they're actually filled with sulfides. What do we have here? We're at the top of basically an extinct volcano. We're drilling down into the throat of it, and there's multiple vent pipes that we're dealing with. You can see on the corporate deck, there's a whole ring of these things around what we call the caldera, basically the volcanic edifice. And as we drill down into those, we're getting down into towards the mothership. Look, the breccia pipes themselves are absolutely hands down an enormous target, but it gets better. You know, what's below? What the heck drove this thing? Probably a porphyry of some sort. Are we there? We're drilling the breccia still. We're up in the tippy top of this thing. We're down 600 meters, I think, in the deepest hole, but there's a heck of a lot going below it too. Big system.
Wow, should be exciting. And Tom, you might like to know that somebody's paying attention to your stock. I'm looking at it, the screen here. It's up about 14% in New York here, and in the U.S. money, it's 14%. So it's good. All right. Well, we have a question also. I have a question for John that came in here. John, someone wants to know, has the board bought more Triumph shares since September?
No, I've been the only one that's been acquiring it.
Okay, well, you're part of the board.
So,
and another one for you, John. Let's see if I can find it here. I think I have another one for you. Okay, yeah. With interest rates rising, a trend likely to continue over the next 6 months, and gold having the highest inverse correlation to real yields, are you planning to release 2020 drill results soon, prior to a likely near-term decline in the gold price? Well, I don't know if I would. Yeah, that's assuming that with interest rates, I can remember. I'm old enough to remember in the 1970s, and I venture to guess that the question comes from someone who's not quite as old as I. I can remember the time when interest rates went up and gold went up together very dramatically, 1970s, and I would suggest that maybe that's where we're headed again if, as it seems to me, possible the Fed is losing control of the interest rate scenario because of the massive amounts of borrowing that the federal government has to do. But John, you're a savvy financial guy. Why don't you go ahead and opine on that?
Well, I'm with you on the philosophy of where the market's going to go, and gold actually does go up with inflation. It is the ultimate store of value, and I don't want to get into philosophically getting into debates on that. We are in that 1972, 73 move, I think. But as far as releasing results on that, that's crazy. We expect to have our results out shortly. It's been tough up in the Yukon and British Columbia as far as getting results back. And this year's results, the amount of drilling we did is almost inconsequential to what we've been doing in previous years. We've done typically about 15,000 meters a year. This year we only did 2,000 meters, and that was because of the COVID situation and the transparency from the Yukon government about being able to get up there from out of province. So we should have those results out shortly, and expect a plan over the next 6 weeks with our technical team how we're going to approach the project going forward next year.
Okay, so another question for you, John. Please discuss the focus of the 2020 drill campaign and how that ties in with your 2021 exploration program. Now, I know that you had, previously your focus the last couple of years had been on those porphyry breccias and the porphyries underneath. And that's sort of changed now. Maybe you'd comment why, but also, maybe just talk a little bit about your 2021 program.
Yeah, okay. So 2019, 2018, we had those very deep porphyry holes. We drilled down 1 kilometer deep. That's all we did do that last year. We put 7 holes in and discovered that porphyry. We had a big step out, and we probably did a really poor job explaining a wildcat step out, and that's why obviously the stock fell back. But of course, with what happened with COVID and everything, there was not a lot of capital going around in February, March, April, which is when we have to plan for our programs. And So we just did a small program, and we wanted to confirm all the near surface higher grade stuff on the property. Most notably Kirsten, that was drilled in 2018. Our team in 2019 built a road to connect the Kirsten discovery up to what's called the Gold Star, which was drilled in the 1970s. We tested that this year. We tested it at 500 meters on a lateral extension, and then we also went underneath it further away. So we're pretty excited about that. It'll be a higher grade near surface system, but going into 2021, we don't want to explain exactly what we've uncovered. Our technical team is we've got a new technical office in Kelowna. It's we've got 4 people full time right now supporting Jesse and Emily, and we've come up with some pretty interesting things geologically on the whole area and some historical work. So for the first time, we've got a strong technical group that's doing a complete reset of all the data, the 145,000 meters, and we pretty much understand what the regional picture looks like, and obviously the higher grade systems on the property.
You had a multi-million gold equivalent ounce resource with, I guess, about 3 different deposits, perhaps.
Correct.
And what do you think you need there, John, to start getting people interested in the commercial potential of your project up there?
Good question. Those are low grade near surface at surface deposits. There are 3 different type of projects altogether. The nucleus is a high grade skarn system formed with that epithermal veins. With that 3D inverse magnetic survey, we now have an understanding of where that system comes from, and we are definitely going to test that this year. The Tinta deposit, which is a small polymetallic deposit that we've been working on at surface, we've gone through the data and spoke to the old owner of the property in the 1970s. It was actually owned by Placer Dome, and the intermediary actually had gone underneath this polymetallic vein 780 feet below it and built 2 tunnels in 1981 at the last real bull market for gold, and with 2 tunnels that went 850 feet into the zone, tunneled 1,000 feet one way, 500 feet another way with another tunnel, and had a pre-feasibility study or a feasibility study that he was going to build a 300 ton a day mill, and back in 1981 numbers was going to produce between $33 and $35 million a year. So having that underground at it, we're gonna look at it. That was not the focus in the last couple of years, but that's just another thing we're looking at.
All right. Well, you've got a lot going for sure, and we'll want to be watching, keeping an eye on what you're up to, and some news, hopefully. All right. So we also have a question for Tom McNeil. A couple of them here. Any plans for an OTC listing in the near future? Tom
in the U.S., I think we have actual symbols in the United States. We see a lot of the volume transacting in our stock, probably as much of a third of it coming from the U.S. So
yeah, so you're not formally listed down here, but probably on the gray markets or something. I know I can buy almost any Canadian stock down here through my TD account. So, and I do, and they're not bulletin board even. So, the other question, go ahead.
I just wanted to add, I'm not really familiar with that, but we have had a couple of questions in that regard. So actually later this week, or early next week, I'm having a discussion about what we need to do to formalize that, because we want to make it as easy as possible, and we haven't taken any steps yet. So.
Okay, another question here for you, Tom. And when do you expect drill results?
We don't know. We're behind the queue. As I said, we've got to assist our neighbors with 10 drill rigs, 180,000 meters of drilling, and it's our understanding they've got 50 geos on staff in the camp. We went to visit them before Christmas. ALS has been pretty clear. We're not going to be able to jump the queue. We'll get them when we get them. We're not complaining. Yeah. There's a big backlog, as you know, in Canada. So we're the little guy. So I'm not even going to make a promise.
Yeah, the little guy probably has to wait. Another question, is it correct to understand that your underground bulk sampling program could resume by the end of Q2 of this year?
Well, probably even sooner. We've been pretty clear with our shareholder base that what we expect is about a month. We went in and did a bunch of grouting to seal off old workings to reduce the amount of water we have to dewater from the workings. When we dewatered in the past, we were pulling water from the old upstream Sanderson mines, and that was just a great deal of water. So we expect about a month of dewatering, a month of rehabilitation, a month of other work that needs to be done underground to get ready, and then to access into the first gold-bearing paleo channel. So it could, in a perfect world, it could be by the end of March. Nothing ever works out perfect. We've had delays weather-wise in the initial dewatering, but once we get going, we expect to be liberating gold early in the new year here. So let's call it, certainly by the end of the second quarter, we would be very surprised if we weren't producing gold from that bulk sample.
Well, if you got the kind of results you got on your trial run there, I can't imagine that people wouldn't start getting excited about your story.
Well, I haven't, we did 25 meters of lateral development next to the picture that I showed you of those workings. So we're ready to go as soon as we get down there. We did that before we let the mine workings fill up with water. So we were pretty proactive. We had intended to start mining this back in 2012. And needless to say, the next crosscut is going to be right directly next to the old one.
Next
So we have pretty high expectations, I guess.
I think it's also very interesting the fact that you're the fact that the gold itself suggests it didn't come very far from the hard rock source. So
and that's one of the, as Osisko is proving, there is gold everywhere in the Caribou. It's just remained under wraps because it's just hard to find because there's so much cover over top of it. But modern geophysical techniques, good sampling techniques, rock mapping, structural understanding, and all of the work they're doing, we're not going to have to wait 160 years to start liberating gold. We anticipate starting to hit in 2021. So we may, for all we know, we may have already, and we've got core in the box. As I said, it's usually no CM gold. We're seeing lots of the interesting stuff we expect to see. We may already have stuff. Don't know. We'll find out.
We'll find out. We'll be watching, that's for sure. And I don't have questions for Michael or Quentin, but just maybe a couple from myself. I think you indicated you might start drilling at the end of this year. If everything goes right, you got some of the drilling, and this would be with your joint venture, right?
Correct. And I know that everybody wants to see a drill rig, and it is the ultimate truth machine, as we say. But these areas are literally, we've only had 6 months of exploration on some of these areas, and this year was slow. We waited it out to see where we were going, and we went back on the ground. We've got lots of field teams now. We've got 3 geological teams running around as we speak down there, but they only went in late November. And the other key part of the story, I suppose, just to pick up on it, is the social aspect side there. And this hasn't seen much exploration, as I mentioned, other than the oil guys who went in there over the last 20 or 30 years and seen more oil exploration than many basins in the world. And when we've been able to benefit from that data, but nobody's looked for metals. And as a consequence, it's a real education exercise, a credibility building exercise with the local people. And we've been putting people into these areas first up before the geologists are going in, talking with the local people. And that, I think, if we are to find something huge there and stories are written, that will be the real breakthrough, is working with the local people. And then that comes to the permitting question that you did ask, that we just got to get the geology right and understand the geology enough to form drill targets. And we're now at that position where we know what we can drill and where we can point the drill rig and get the right area in which we want to do that with the right local people who are on site, and the majority of people are, and actually it's changed over the last year hugely, where things have been locked down and people are really looking forward to us coming back. But we just want to make sure the first permits are the easier permits, not the hardest permits, and we're doing that. So that's ongoing as we speak, and Peru is trying to make things a little faster for the industry in terms of permitting, not necessarily easier, but faster, because it really blew out there pre-COVID, and they want to get people back on the ground. So we're anticipating later this year, but it's all a little unknown as to the exact timeframes. But that will be a very exciting moment, without a doubt.
you have some sense of the geometry of these sedimentary structures? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. This is pancake country, basically. So this is it's sediment-hosted gold, and that means that the gold forms in these horizons that that are extensive. We know from the oil exploration that I touched on that we're finding the copper in the same context at the same geological horizons, and there's a couple of them too that we're dealing with. You know, we've got one that's the 3 meters wide that I showed you, 2 to 3 meters wide. Then we've got gossans that are up to 50 meters wide that are a slightly different style too, that extend over kilometers, you know, up to 50 to 80 meters wide. So 2 very different styles there. So yes, the structure's a big part of it, but these things are pancakes. They're gently dipping, which is important because this will be an underground mine based on the morphology of what we see today, and if it gets really steep, it becomes, you know, quite hard to mine. So you want these thin, high grade styles of deposits to be flat, and we can see that across the countryside, and who knows how deep they'll go, but we see them at multiple levels, literally at 5 kilometers wide over a 100-kilometer trend.
all right, and your joint venture partner, what is the deal again? They have to spend how much to earn? I think 70. Is it 70%?
Yeah, so it's 35 million is the headline number to get to 75%, 35 million US. But the key number is 8 million US before they earn any interest.
Okay.
So they're doing all the hard yards and the heavy lifting now in this first phase, and that's over the first 4 years. And actually, we started the first phase that was backdated to April last year. So we're just about to finish the first year of exploration. So they backpaid us, and we're just about to finish that first year.
All right, Quentin, you're last up here. I don't know. It's just, to me, it's just an amazing story. The Eskay 2.0, possibly. Certainly off to a good start. And from what you see, geology pretty identical, if not identical, to Eskay Creek, right?
No, it's better, Jay, because we have 85% of the bill. Look, you know, the geology is almost identical. To be, it's amazing. I mean, imagine the same strata that host Eskay is folded over like an inverted taco, and now we're finding the same style of mineralization on the other side. And it, from the geophysics, that SkyTim we did, which kind of covers the core central third of the property, we can see there's lots of sulfide, potential sulfide bodies sticking their nose up down, along strike. Now we are going to extend that SkyTim survey to the south and to the north. One of the things we don't have in the deck, we did a BLEG program. BLEG, it's a clay fraction stream sediment program. Gives you a really sensitive, good analysis of gold where, there's mineralization sticking out of the ground. We're now getting that BLEG data back, and I can guarantee you this is a district scale play. We're seeing new BLEG drainages, like new areas that are shedding gold that do not have any known prospects, like in the historic record, nothing, no drill holes, no nothing. And there are a lot of them are focused on that east limb. Like that east limb is truly could be the live, the live limb. I mean, that could be where the core of the system is. The other thing that's kind of gurgling in the background, John DeDecker's working on the geochem. We're doing, this crazy lithogeochem analysis where, he looks at many different elements, their combinations, and it tells us where the most intense alteration is. Okay, one of the things we're going to be able to see once we get all this put together is exactly where the vents or the main structures that fed the fluids that produce these ore bodies are located. And I think like I showed that photo of the pyrite and electrum and whatnot. Look, I think given the alteration indices in that area, I think we're standing right on top of something, some zone that was upwelling fluids in the Paleo Ocean that formed the darn thing. So I'm really excited, man. I'm telling you, I think we have a good shot of finding a bigger fish. To be frank, VMS occur in camps. Okay, Eskay, everybody scratched their head. Where's the rest of them? Nobody knows. Guess what? They've been hiding on Eskay Mining's ground for 3 decades now. Well, I mean, 300, or 280 million years or whatever. But you know what I mean. Like they're there in plain sight is what I'm getting at.
And in clusters, and so
Yeah.
So could this be one main system
Yeah,
that connects with,
TVGF. We got good evidence that basically that's they're all that entire system through there
Wow.
is part of the same
system.
event. There's no question really.
Well, it's exciting times for our industry, that's for sure. And it's retirement time for me, but I can't quite do it yet. Too much fun to be had yet in this sector. So I want to thank all of you. That is basically our time. Tom, one last question for you, maybe if I can get away with it. A merger of equals between Omineca and Osisko Development, or a merger. I probably should read these before I read them out loud. I don't know. All right. Or a merger with no premium will provide great synergies. This type of merger has become more and more common. Is this something the company is looking at? So maybe just take a minute if you care to answer it.
Well, we're not looking for anything. Excuse me. We're developing an asset the way we do. I mean, we're miners. Our background is we develop things and we move them forward.
And you mine them.
Right. We're prepared to go right to mining. That's why we're going to start mining our underground placer operations. We characterize it as a bulk sample because we don't have a 43-101 resource calculation around it, and we never will. It's a kind of a wonky little project. We're going to do what we do with it with our partners, and we believe that it can be robustly economic from Omineca's perspective. That's why we structured the deal that way. But the big prize is where did that gold come from? And, as Quentin just mentioned, we've got things to do, like a Blake survey on all of the massive land package that we have. There will be many, many deposits that will have charged the streams and whatnot in the region, in our 500 square kilometers. And this is virgin territory. It's really never been looked at. In 1905, or a little bit before 1905, I think 1903, the Wingdam underground paleoplacer was discovered by miners who were mining the creek beds. So it's been known about for 120 years now, or 118 years. And no exploration was ever done around it, very little. There's been a few percussion holes drilled in the region, but typically nothing happened because the prize was always this really rich deposit. And it's a reasonably simple nut to crack for us because, again, going back to it, we're miners. That's what we do. So looking at mergers, to answer that question, we're always open-minded. We like talking to anybody. I mean, we get involved in a lot of things, but we're prepared to properly explore, develop, define resources, capitalize them. We have the capability to bring whatever level of capital is necessary to bring to bear on a project. I mean, it's an exciting part for us. So a little early days to be thinking about that kind of thing, but certainly we're always very open-minded.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, all of you, for sharing your stories with our viewers, and all exciting stories. Look forward to keeping up with each and every one of them.